On June 1st, 2026, a company quietly filed papers with US government. No press conference, no live stream, no CEO in a leather jacket, just one confidential document sent to SEC. That document said, we want to go public. Can you think of the number attached to it? $965 billion. And bankers think the actual debut crosses $1 trillion. That would make it one of the biggest IPOs in human history, bigger than Saudi Aramco's record listing. This company has 30 times fewer users than ChatGPT. It was started by a man who left OpenAI because he was scared. Elon Musk literally called the founder evil. For first 2 years, the entire internet treated it like a joke. So how did the scared, slow, boring company beat OpenAI to Wall Street by exactly 7 days? And why just 1 day after its rival filing did it reveal a model it had spent months calling too dangerous to release? 9 days in June, $1 trillion filing, a rival's counter-filing, and the most powerful AI ever handed to the public. I spent 2 weeks going down this rabbit hole. IPO filing, leaked revenue charts, founder interviews from 2018, and what I found is honestly the single best business case study of this decade. This is the story of Anthropic, and by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the one decision made on a whiteboard in 2021 that is now worth $1 trillion. To understand June 2026, you have to go back to 2020 San Francisco. OpenAI is the hottest lab in Silicon Valley. ChatGPT doesn't exist yet, but inside the building, a small group of researchers is staring at a graph that will change everything. The man staring hardest is the VP of research, a physicist turned AI scientist, Dario Amodei. Dario had discovered something his team called scaling laws. Take a AI model, make it 10x bigger, feed it 10x more data, burn 10x more compute power. It doesn't get a little smarter. It gets predictably, reliably, and exponentially smarter, like a law of physics, like gravity. And you have watched this law play out in real time, even if you didn't know its name. 2019, GPT-2 could barely write a fake headline. 2020, GPT-3 suddenly was able to narrate poetry, essays, and even working code. Moving to 2023, GPT passes the bar examination. And in 2026, we have AI agents that write, run, and debug the entire software projects all by themselves. 6 years from party trick to white collar workforce. Now, quick personal confession. I'm not narrating this from the outside. The app I'm tracking my marathon training on, AI helped me build it. The crypto dashboard on my second monitor, and AI wrote most of the code while I had dinner. So when I'm telling you this curve is real, I'm telling you as someone whose own workflows got easier by it. But here's the thing about exponential curve that never bends. If the line just keeps going, then somewhere up that line is a machine that is smarter than the people who build it. And in 2020, Dario realized nobody, not him, not Sam Altman, nobody actually knew how to control what's at the top of that line. 3 years later, most powerful people in AI signed a public statement. One sentence. I'm going to put it up on screen because you should read it with your own eyes. Mitigating the risk of existence from AI should be a global priority alongside pandemic and nuclear war. Signed by Sam Altman, signed by Dario Amodei, signed by Geoffrey Hilton, the godfather of AI, who quit Google weeks earlier, saying he consoled himself with a normal excuse. If he wouldn't have done it, somebody else would have. So in late 2020, Dario and 6 colleagues, including his own sister, Daniela, walked out of OpenAI. And then they did one thing nobody expected from people terrified of AI. They started another AI company, and hold that contradiction in your head. The answer to it is the whole video. Let's be honest about how this looked in 2021. OpenAI had everything. The best model, which Dario himself had helped build. $1 billion from Microsoft, mountains of GPU. Anthropic had a name people couldn't pronounce, $125 million from investors who worried about doomsday, and a belief system. Elon Musk's reaction? He called them misanthropic, evil. And the strategy they chose made it look even worse. While the entire valley screamed, move fast and break things, Dario's bet was exactly opposite. In AI, safety is not a break. Safety is the engine. Sounds like a LinkedIn quote, right? But watch how literally they meant it. They re-engineered the company itself, the legal structure around that one idea. 3 moves. Move 1. Public Benefit Corporation. A normal company is legally obligated to maximize shareholders' profit. A PBC is legally allowed to leave money on the table for its mission. They chose the second one on purpose in the most lucrative industry in history. Move 2. The Long-Term Benefit Trust. They created a body of independent trustees, AI safety experts, national security people who own zero stock, draw zero salary, and can never get rich off Anthropic but hold power over the board. Think about the design. The people steering the ship are the only people who can't profit from sinking it or pumping it. Move 3. This is the technical genius part. They changed how the AI itself is trained. OpenAI approach was called RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. Basically hire armies of humans to rate millions of AI answers. Good answer, bad answer, good answer, expensive, slow, and in this AI inherits whatever bias those raters have. Worst was, raters rewarded answers that sound confident and pleasing. And that's why model learned to flatter you and didn't tell you the truth. Anthropic's invention, constitutional AI. Instead of an army of human raters, you give model a written rule book and train it to critique and correct its own answers against those principles. But why did this matter for business? 3 reasons. Number 1, this process scales infinitely and there's no human bottleneck. Number 2, the value are public documents. You can read it, debate it, change it, and the decision-making principles are not buried in some anonymous rater's head. Number 3, you can write one principle that changes everything. Prioritize being truthful over being flattering. Now pause. In 2021, every analyst would tell you this is suicide. Slow shipping, profit legally optional, a literal committee of people who can't make money telling you no. But hidden inside these 3 stupid decisions is exactly the reason banks now value this company at $1 trillion. To see it, you need to meet the customer nobody was thinking about in 2021. November 2022, ChatGPT drops. It becomes the fastest growing customer product in human history. Studio Ghibli portraits, homework machines, your uncle on WhatsApp sending AI poems. And Anthropic, they launched Claude in 2023 and the world responds with nothing for 12 straight months. Claude is basically invisible. No viral movement, no meme. By January 2024, the score: OpenAI $2 billion in revenue, Anthropic $87 million, and that's not a competitor. That's a rounding error. Now here's where I want you to put an investor hat, because this is where my brain works differently. I look at unit economics, not headlines. A consumer AI business has a dirty secret. Roughly 90 million people uses ChatGPT every week and overwhelming majority pay nothing. And unlike Instagram, where a free user costs almost nothing, in AI, every single free conversation burns real money. Fame in AI is a cost center. And OpenAI was the most famous company on earth, and that's why it was bleeding cash. They have publicly said that they did not expect profitability before 2030. They have reportedly committed around $600 billion to data centers. By January 2026, they started doing something nobody imagined ChatGPT would do, showing ads to free users to cover bills. Anthropic looked at this and made second-grade contrarian call. Don't be famous, be indispensable. Skip consumers, hunt enterprises, because a business customer signs a contract, wires you 6 figures, builds their internal tools on your AI, and then switching away becomes brutally painful. Consumers churn for $1 off. Enterprises don't. And what does enterprises actually pay for? Not poems, 3 boring things: long documents, trustworthiness, and code. Trustworthiness, the stupid safety obsession for a bank, a hospital, a government. That's not a philosophy. That's the purchase criteria. The constitution, the trust structure, the refusal to move fast and break things. Anthropic had accidentally spent 3 years building world's best enterprise sales pitch. Well, safety wasn't the break. Safety was the moat. Okay, so everything till now was set up. This is the part that made me make this video. June 2024, Claude 3.5 Sonnet quickly becomes the best coding model in the world. Developers start whispering. End of 2024, Anthropic crosses 1 billion annualized. May 2025, they ship a product called Claude Code. Remember that name? August 2025, 5 billion. End of 2025, 9 billion. April 2026, 30 billion. May to June 2026, I think it's around 45 to 47 billion. From 1 billion to 45 billion in roughly 17 months. The headline undersold it. In April 2026, the line crossed. Anthropic run rate passed OpenAI's, which stood around 25 billion with 30 times fewer users. 30 times fewer users, almost double revenue. How is that even mathematically possible? That's because of one product, Claude Code. Here's what it is in one line. Not a chatbot that suggests code. An agent that reads your entire code base, makes a plan, executes it in real development tools, tests the result, and fixes its own mistake. You set the goal, it does the work. The numbers on this single product are absurd. 1 billion in annualized revenue within 6 months of launch, reportedly faster than any enterprise software product in history. 2.5 billion by February 2026, more than doubling since. Average developer using it spends 20 hours a week inside Anthropic itself. The majority of their code is now written by Claude Code. And I can show you this because I live it. This is my Bitcoin bottom hunter decision dashboard. 7 indicators, live APIs. A few years ago, building this meant hiring a freelance developer, 3 weeks of back and forth, and $1,000 to $10,000. And now I describe what I want, go for my training run, come back, and a working software is ready. And I'm just one guy in Singapore with a YouTube channel. Now multiply my experience by every Fortune 500 company on earth. That is the revenue chart you just saw. And it shows who's paying 300,000 plus business customers, which comprises of 80% of the revenue. Consumers spending 100K per year. And this grew 7x in 1 year. 8 of Fortune 10 run on Claude. Netflix, Spotify, Salesforce, KPMG, all are on customer list. Do this one piece of math with me. By one analyst, Anthropic's average business customer pays roughly 15x more than OpenAI average business customer. That's the entire mystery solved. OpenAI collected users. On the other side, Anthropic collected budgets. And in January 2026, they twisted the knife. They launched Claude Code, basically Claude Code for everyone else. Spreadsheet, reports, file work for non-coders, reportedly built by 4 engineers in 10 days, with most of the code written in Claude Code itself. So the product built its own sibling. The market's reaction: global SaaS stocks sold off roughly $2 billion of market cap pressure across software as investors realized AI agents might eat traditional softwares. Remember the contradiction? Why would a man scared of AI build an AI company? Here is Dario's answer, and 2026 proved it. If this technology is coming, no matter what, the people most worried about it should be at the frontier, shaping it, not watching it from the sideline. Fear made him deliberate, and deliberate, it turns out, is exactly what biggest companies on earth wanted to buy. Now, a part of story no one on YouTube is telling you, and it runs through the city I live in. In February 2026, Anthropic raises a 30 billion Series G at a 380 billion valuation. Look who led the round. GIC, Singapore's sovereign wealth fund, the fund that manages this country's reserves, the most comprehensive long horizon money on planet. Alongside Koachu with Sequoia founder fund, Econic and MGX in the mix. I really like Sequoia backed Anthropic while already backing OpenAI. And here's the detail. I love Sequoia backed Anthropic while already backing OpenAI, breaking venture capital's oldest unwritten rule: never fund direct competitors. When the smartest money in the world refuses to pick a side, that tells you they think the prize is big enough for 2 winners. Then the money avalanche: Nvidia, Microsoft committing 15 billion in late 2025. Reports of Google preparing up to 40 billion more. Even a compute deal with SpaceX, and the Silicon Valley joke writes itself. Elon's rival is Sam. Dario's rival is Sam. Enemy of an enemy is a compute partner. The same Elon who called them evil in 2021. His company is now helping power them in 2026. 90 billion valuation, then 380 billion in February, 965 billion after the 65 billion series H8 10x markup in about a year. The wildest move of all came this month. One day after OpenAI filed its IPO, Anthropic released something it had spent months telling the world was too dangerous to release. And the way they did it is the whole 2021 whiteboard strategy compressed into a single product launch. 2 months back in April, Anthropic showed Wall Street and US government something called Claude Mythos Preview, a new class of model a tier above everything they've ever shipped. And it had a scary party trick. It turned out to be exceptionally good in finding security vulnerabilities across every major operating system and web browser, despite never being designed for cybersecurity. Think about what that means. In wrong hands, a tool like that is master key to world's critical infrastructure. So what did the scared company do? They did not release it. Instead, they launched Project Glasswing. They quietly gave early access to Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Cisco, JP Morgan Chase, so these companies could use Mythos to find and patch their own vulnerabilities first. Hand out the shield before anyone gets the sword. And Tuesday, the day after OpenAI's S1, they launched Claude Fable 5, the first Mythos class model that public can actually use. State of art on nearly every benchmark. Their most capable model ever made, generally available, with biggest lead on exactly the thing enterprises pay for: long, complex, autonomous tasks. Stripe reportedly said it compressed months of engineering effort into days. And here's the genius part, the part that made me pause my research and just stare the screen. They didn't release it raw, and they didn't cripple it with refusals either. They built a routing system, asked Fable 5 about high-risk areas, cybersecurity, biology, and chemistry. And your questions quietly gets answered by previous models, like Opus 4.8. Safeguards trigger is under 5% per session. They ran a bug bounty over 10,000 hours of expert jailbreaks attempts, and 0 universal jailbreaks were found. And the full power version, Mythos 5, with restrictions lifted, is only available to approved cyber defenders and researchers, where it is reportedly accelerating the part of drug design by 10x. Do you see what they actually built? Not a model, a resilience machine for dangerous technology. Remember 2020, Dario stared at the scaling law curve and got scared because nobody knew how to control what's at the top of it. 6 years later, his answer isn't don't build it and isn't ship it and pray. It's build the most powerful thing in the world and engineer who gets which version of it. Safety turned into tiered product, trust turned into paywall. There's even one decision in irony here. Days before this launch, Anthropic publicly urged the world's AI lab to agree on a coordinated brake paddle for frontier AI, warning these systems may soon start improving themselves. Warn about brakes on Monday, ship the faster car on Tuesday. Critics call hypocrisy. Anthropic would call it the entire point. Better the careful driver hold the wheel. You decide which it is. Which brings us to $1 trillion question. Literally, is any of it actually worth it? Because now I'm going to argue against everything I just told you about. If I told you the glory story, I would be doing marketing. So here are 4 asterisks the headline skips. And as someone who actually invests, these matter to me more than the highlight reel. Asterisk 1, run rate is not revenue. That 47 billion number, this is one strong month multiplied by 12. It is a speedometer reading, not the distance traveled. Real audited full year numbers come out only when S1 filing goes public, and that document will be the single most important reality check in AI history. Asterisk 2, accounting is flattering. Analyst at Sakara points out Anthropic reports revenue from cloud reselling AWS, Google on a gross basis, counting the customer's total spend as their revenue and booking the partner's cut as expense, which is perfectly legal, but also it inflates the top line compared to rivals. When the lines crossed in April, they may have crossed with different rules. Asterisk 3, cost is biblical. Frontier AI burns cash like nothing in business history. Anthropic has committed to gigawatts of future compute, Google TPUs, Microsoft capacity, and SpaceX deal, most arriving in late 2026 or 2027. They have even publicly admitted that demands have stagnated their infrastructure, degrading reliability during peak hours. Asterisk 4, control has a price tag. Fable 5 safeguard system, it comes with friction. Anthropic now requires 30-day retention on all Mythos class traffic, even for enterprises that previously had 0 retention agreement, and the safeguards are deliberately cautioned, meaning they will sometimes block legitimate security researchers and biologists. Some customers will accept the trade, some customers will walk to competitors who ask fewer questions. Asterisk 5, the bubble question. This IPO doesn't arrive alone. SpaceX just listed at 1.17 trillion. OpenAI filed exactly 7 days after Anthropic, targeting towards $1 trillion itself, while openly stating it won't be profitable before 2030 and reportedly running a 14 billion operational loss. Ray Dalio, Bank of America are openly using words bubble. One analyst put it perfectly: 2026 either becomes the most consequential IPO cycle since the dot-com era, or the most expensive lesson in narrative versus fundamentals that market have ever taught. So which side? Honestly, nobody knows, and anyone who tells you with certainty is selling you something. I'm not telling you to buy this IPO. That's a decision for you and your own research when actual prospects drop. What I'm telling you is the S1 disclosure from these two companies will reset the valuations for the entire AI industry. Every funding round, every AI stock in your portfolio gets repriced against these numbers. That's why filing matters, even if you never buy a single share. So are these worth $1 trillion? The market is about to vote. But notice what we can already judge. Not the price, not the strategy. That's the final chapter. Let's return to the empty whiteboard from chapter 2. Why did the scared, slow company file first? Strip away the noise and the whole story compresses into one whiteboard decision from 2021. What everyone calls out weakness, we will sell it as the product. Everybody said safety makes you slow. Enterprises paid 15 times more for the trust. Everyone said skipping consumers kills you. Consumers cost money. Enterprises print it. Everyone said structures repel investors. The most conservative money on earth, sovereign wealth fund, led their round. Everyone said careful company shipped late. The careful company shipped Claude Code, filed for Wall Street first, and released the most powerful AI model public has ever access to, one day after its rival filing. The scared company now sets the pace. And look, this isn't a war with winner yet. OpenAI is a monster, 900 million weekly users, ads turning on, and a device coming is still its own $1 trillion filing a week later. Founders have listened to say choosing between the two models is now like choosing a flavor of the month. They're neck to neck on capability. The honest read is that these two companies are dragging each other and the whole technology forward faster than either would alone. One proved AI could belong to everyone. The other proved it can be trusted with anything. But here's the reason why I keep coming back, and this case study got under my skin. In 2021, Dario had a single most valuable contrarian insight in business. He disagreed with everyone about what bottleneck was. Everyone thought bottleneck was speed. He bet it was trust. And this is the part which most people miss. He had the discipline to wait for 4 unglamorous years while the world laughed, called their company boring, evil, irrelevant, for the market to come to him. I think about it as a builder. You and me, we judge 10 ideas, we chase the trend of the week, we panic when something doesn't go viral in 3 months. Meanwhile, a $1 trillion company spent 4 years being invisible on purpose, compounding on one belief. The fastest growing company in business history got there by refusing to hurry. The scaling law that scared Dario in 2020, the line is still going up, which means the real question of the story isn't whether Anthropic is worth $1 trillion. It's whether the rest of us are ready for the world where that valuation is justified. That's the case study. If this earned 30 minutes of your time, the like button genuinely helps more people find it and subscribe, because when these S1 go public with real numbers, I'm doing a full breakdown.